after right, Russell Westbrook. You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Party On Broad. Our Sixers draft coverage continues, and today we're breaking down the strengths, weaknesses, and fit with Philadelphia 76ers of a stretch big. I'm excited to break it down, and to help me do that is my man, Tiago. Good morning, Tiago.
Good morning, Chris. We're here to break down your favorite Marvel character, JT Thor.
The most hilarious part about that is Black Widow is out today, so I'm I'm ready to deep dive into some Marvel. No, we're actually talking about Sixers basketball today. But yeah, I would not I'm a huge Marvel fan, so I cannot deny that having that Sixers jersey with Thor on the background would be the ultimate, man. That would be the ultimate. Anyway,
I mean, we would love to be talking NBA Finals with Sixers, but we got to watch the Bucks get crushed instead by the Suns, which is kind of nice. But I wish it was the Sixers out there giving them a better shot.
Yeah, Phoenix are rolling, man. So, all right, let's start the tape, Tiago. Who is JT Thor?
JT Thor, man, he's a native out of Anchorage, Alaska. So, shout out to the big Alaska contingency in the NBA. In the NBA, a guy getting a lot of hype. So, played at Auburn, like you said, and had, I think, only three games where he attempted more than 10 shots. Had a 29-point game against Kentucky, the one that really broke it down and really stood out in that game, especially late in the game. I think that's kind of where he started getting a lot of his hype. But things have really escalated since he went to the NBA Combine, because in the NBA Combine, at his size, he stood out in a big way. So I think he had the second highest wingspan. He crushed the agility drills, especially as being as a kind of power forward type. And now he's getting talked about not only as a first-round prospect in that Sixers range, but also getting interviews with some lottery teams. So I think he interviewed 2 or 3 separate lottery teams in that lottery range. So the question is he going to be at the Sixers range moving forward? A lot of mock drafts have him around that range. And we talked about this with other players. Very, very processy type prospect. So a guy that if you're going to bring into your system, probably not going to play early on. But as you're seeing here on tape, there's a lot of athletic tools to work with. The guy is a freak of nature at his size, and length. So yeah, JT Thor is definitely a name to keep an eye on for sure.
Yeah, when you talk about strengths of this kid, you're watching the tape here. 3-and-D potential. The shooting stroke is good. Definite potential to defend multiple positions at the next level. The thing that stands out to me is that fluid athleticism. There are plays that I was watching JT Thor. I'm like, oh, okay, Pascal Siakam, all these the potential is the key word when it comes to this guy. So anybody that's taking him clearly is in love with his ceiling, which is truthfully probably as high as a potential lottery pick. What are some of your strengths for JT Thor, Tiago?
It's funny you said Pascal Siakam, because I was trying to think of a comp for him, and I probably should have gone with Siakam. Again, these are high projections. Siakam is an all-star player. Yeah, this guy is – the name I came up with was Kevon Looney from the Warriors, but I wasn't really happy with that kind of comp because Looney plays a little bit stronger. They're kind of the same body type, but Thor's a little bit more fluid than Looney, I think. So it was kind of like a hit or miss. But I think Siakam is more of a projection type comp to Thor. One of the things that really stood out for me, and that's something I think NBA teams are going to really love about his game, is, again, these are hints of things he showed, because oftentimes he was not one of those scorers. Sharif Cooper was the main guy in Auburn. But one of the things I really enjoyed about his game is show hints of playmaking off the bounce. So it's the ability to, at his size on the wing, guy comes at him, right? Put the ball on the ground, attack the closeout. Yes, like you talked about, Chris, tremendous fluidity on the bounce. And that ability to shoot off the bounce, and specifically going left, he's got a really good kind of left hand kind of dribble, but shoot off the bounce or create off the bounce. That's something that, man, at his size, you're talking about putting defenses a lot of conflict, right? Because you're asking power forwards or even some small forwards to get out there and defend them out in space. And if he can do that at that size and at that range, that's a real skill in the NBA, man, because now you're creating all types of issues for the defense to match up with. So I thought for me, that was something that really stood out. But again, these are projections because you rarely saw that with him at all. But when it stood out, you're like, whoa, like there's definitely something here to work with. So yeah. I thought that was something really interesting about his game. And, again, it's the way that they deployed him at Auburn. I thought it was interesting, very versatile. They use him a lot in the pick and roll. So that ability to slip the pick and dive downhill, he scored on 70% of those looks, which is a very high number. Again, very reliable. He's not as bouncy as like a Greg Brown was. So we talked about Greg Brown being like a super bouncy, high arc, high catch radius type player in the pick and roll. He may not be that in the pick and roll, but there's definitely a lot to work there with. And he loves coming off that trailer position, that trailer 3 position, right? So that we see that a lot with Embiid. That guy just the last one off the break and just sit at the 3-point line and kind of usually get an open look off of Ben Simmons drive and kick. He has done a lot of that at Auburn. Not as reliable. I think he shot something like 29%. Yeah, 29% from 3. So again, not a very reliable shot right now. But again, you see it, the fluidity around his stroke, the balance is all there, and I think this could be a very reliable shot for him at the NBA level, assuming that he finds the consistency. So again, it's the ability to really do a few things offensively, specific around off the bounce and off the catch, which is very interesting. And defensively, I definitely see that versatility. I mean, you see that fluidity in space, moving around, specifically laterally around smaller guards who are trying to attack the rim. And it showed in his combine numbers. I think he tested out 3.06 in the sprint and 3.08 in the shuttle run. So 3.08 in the shuttle run, he was actually the 3rd highest power forward. And that really tests your ability to move laterally. And that's a high number, a good number for him to test at the NBA combine. So it projects very well in his ability to move in space and close out driving lanes and you not allow guards to kind of get to the rim at ease. So, yeah, I mean, the switchability, the offensive portfolio, all those things point very positive for JT moving forward.
I can easily see this guy like in an individual workout, private workout with the Sixers, and if he thrives in the shooting performances, like making a huge impression on the Sixers. So
yeah.
Let's go on to weakness. What are some of these areas that JT Thor needs to improve upon?
Yeah, so I mean, we talked about the shooting, 29% 3-point line. That's going to have to improve at the NBA level for his game to open up, right? So if he's shooting 29%, guys are not going to really go out there and contest them. And part of his exciting about his game is the ability to attack those contests and play make off that. So he's going to have to get that up for sure. But what really stood out for me, it's something I did not like. And I'm folks will point to the body. He needs to bulk up. He needs to play stronger physically. I watched the game against Kentucky, right? So Kentucky has a guy called Isaiah Jackson, who is actually going to be like a top 20, 25 type player, draft pick. Isaiah Jackson is like way smaller than Thor is, but he bullied Thor the entire game, just on the boards, on the post. And I didn't think it was so much. Obviously the physical thing was a problem. He's got to get stronger, but I didn't see the intensity. I didn't really see a lot of fire on him to kind of push back and, go up for those rebounds, make sure that he kind of anchored down on Isaiah Jackson, didn't let him get to the glass or didn't let him, get deep post position because he's just a bigger player, man. And so I didn't like the intensity to play with. That was something that kind of wrote down. I'm like, is this really just a physical thing or is it more like an intensity thing? If it's a physical thing, you can probably remedy just getting stronger, but if it's an intensity thing, man, the Sixers already have a couple guys. You're like, you got to pick up the intensity, man. Let's go. And I'm not sure, he's that kind of player who's going to play at a high intensity. That's something I kind of wrote down. I was like, I wasn't particularly happy, even though he finished with 20-some points in that game. If you go in deeper for most of the game, he kind of got bullied around by Isaiah Jackson. So that's something that I'm going to be interested to keep an eye on. At the NBA level, he's going to bring that same type of intensity. And like I said, he's just not a big. So he moves very, very lateral. He's quick, he's fluid, but he's not a very explosive athlete going up, so vertically. And I think that may also limit his impact to finish at the rim. So, in those pick and roll situations or attacking a closeout, you see him not get up as much, and guys have an easier look contesting those shots at the rim. And the same thing will be defensively. Like, does he have enough vertical pop to be kind of a rim protector, kind of weak side rim protector kind of player? I mean, some of his blocking numbers suggest he can be at the next level, but the NBA is a different beast, man. If you're not testing out super, super high in some of these testing numbers, it may not be in the cards for you at the next level. So, but we'll see, man. There's obviously a lot to work with, but the intensity part of it is something that for me was kind of a red flag when I watched him play at Auburn.
Let's go on the fit with the Sixers. Clearly there's a lot of areas here that I think Morey and Doc Rivers will definitely be attracted to. You're watching the tape here. This guy is clearly a disruptor in the paint and on the perimeter. You see him, deflect passes in the passing lanes and start the transition offense. Like, there's a lot of things that I think, the Sixers would love. So I think there is a world where I could see this guy just, Joel Embiid just taking this guy under his wing and just developing him, and teaching him like the game. Whether I don't know whether this guy is like a sponge like Joel is, but there is like a world where I could see like JT Thor learning under Joel Embiid and learning the ins and outs of the offense and the defense and defending on the perimeter when you have to. Like, I don't know. What about you, Tiago? What do you think of this guy's fit with the Sixers?
I think if Joel had to face this guy in practice, he would take away his manhood in 2 practices, and would just probably relegate him to ball boy duties. No, I'm just joking. It was definitely very interesting because I do think Joel has a lot to offer as a teacher of the game. Joel's the kind of guy who came in super raw, right? Barely even played basketball when he got to the NBA, and you see the stuff that he does now. It's like, man, this guy would be a pretty cool teacher, and Thor would definitely be a sponge off that. For me, the fit is really around the switchability defensively, and Doc talked about that a lot in his exit interview, is that when he thought that he took Joel Embiid off the court or Ben Simmons off the court, the Sixers got small fast. Thor can give you the size and the defensive element on the perimeter that the Sixers really don't have much. Mike Scott doesn't move well on the perimeter. Dwight Howard doesn't really move well on the perimeter. So, and we don't even expect these guys to be back to begin with. But anyways, Thor definitely does. But again, these are projections. This guy is not going to come in and play right away. It's just not going to happen. If it does, things have gone completely haywire with the Sixers roster. This team is vying for a championship, and guys like that, processing guys like that, don't get to get a lot of minutes right away. But Toronto, right? We talk about Toronto a lot on these podcasts. Player development machine. They have a guy right now who plays a lot, which is Boucher, right? And Boucher is a similar type of player. Long, rangy, fluid. Didn't play at all in the NBA first couple of years, signed a 10-day contract with Toronto, and now was a big part of their roster last year as a contributor. So it's about the long game with these guys. And if you're looking for a big home run swing, right, you have the option to go more short-term, more long-term. He definitely falls a long-term home run swing, but could also be like a swing and a miss. So It's a matter of what the Sixers value at that point. And I think they'll go more the sure route based on where they're at in their win expectation. But you never know. And these guys they're being talked about as a lottery pick for a reason, man. He definitely is one of those players.
All right, that is Tiago. Follow him on Twitter at @tscabby. You can find all of our scouting reports here at the Paydalons YouTube channel or at thepaydalons.com. If you just want to, if you're doing chores around the house, hit that audio button, play, and you can just hear us there as well. Tiago, any final thoughts on JT Thor?
JT Thor, man. If you like, the Marvel characters, he's definitely no, I'm just joking. He's a guy I like, man. I would put other guys ahead of him, specifically around ball handlers in the perimeter. There's quite a few of them that Sixers can look at the NBA draft. But like I said, if they're looking for a home run swing, right? They had one last year. I thought with Maxey, he could definitely be one of those guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you love the Sixers, please give this video a like. Please be sure to subscribe here. Turn on notifications for Tiago, for myself. Catch you next time.
posterized Russell Westbrook. You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get it. Hell yeah!
Amen.